Well, for those of you who follow the show, yes, I'm jumping the gun a bit, going after Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 as opposed to his first edition, but I think this one sticks out a little bit more than the first for fans. I just wanted to hear a few words from the man himself regarding remakes.
You know, remakes are weird because on one hand you want it to be different because it's sort of like, well, if it's the same, what's the point of remaking it? It's completely pointless. And then if it's so different, what's the point of calling it Halloween? So it was always a weird tightrope that you walk, and it was always, you know, it was problematic in certain ways, I think, whereas on this one it doesn't matter. It starts off in a weird place, it goes off, and it never has any relationship to anything that's come before.
Of all the critiques I've heard on the movie, and I've heard many, I'm not sure if anyone stopped to consider that this may not be a Halloween movie at all. Not really, anyway. I guess we'll have to look at the movie and see how it fits with the classic Michael, and Rob's giant version. I might be brief on the movie, as I'm sure most of you have seen it. So let's not just take a look on how it stacks up with the rest of the franchise, but some highlights and lowlights of the film. So here it is, the 2009 release, Halloween 2. At least it's not the curse of something or the revenge of something, it's just a solid 2, so thumbs up. The mom shows up at the clinic with Mike and shows him the white horse. This begins a whole psychoanalytical aspect of the character I didn't really think was needed. I love the realistic gunfire, though, that they have. It really sobers you up and gets your attention. Laurie's in the hospital, and it's pretty gruesome, the scene. I can't say for sure, but it looks very real. Some meat wagon boys are telling some pretty nasty jokes back and forth when they slam into a cow. Man, don't mess with cows. The boys are messed up, and Mike makes his escape. He does the one guy in, pretty nasty stuff, and he sees a vision of that bloody horse again. I really want to know why this needs to be in a Halloween movie. Did he ever see it as a kid? Well, the kill was on par with Mike at least. So, the nurse walks in, cool as a cucumber, opens her mouth, and blood comes out and she freaks. Does this make any sense at all? Well, Mike proceeds to stab the crap out of her. Not really his look there though, more Leatherface. Does anybody else see that? I don't know. Also, the grunting. Less Mike there. So, Laurie takes off trying to flee Mike. It's actually a very suspenseful scene, and she ends up trapped in a wooden kiosk. Mike discovers her and cuts his way in, only to have her wake up safe in bed. It fooled me the first time. So, it's 2 years after the events of the first movie. She now lives with Sheriff Brackett, played by Brad Dourif, also known as the voice of Chucky, and Annie, a Halloween legend, also played Jamie earlier on in the series. Laurie is suffering from major mental issues because of these events from 2 years ago. She's seeing a psychiatrist, played by Margot Kidder. It's Halloween, and Laurie has anxiety because of this, similar to Halloween H2O in a way, I think. There's a part where the shrink shows Laurie a picture of an ink blot, but look at it, what else could it possibly be? Come on. Then there's the Dr. Loomis character. I'm really disappointed in the Loomis character. I know it's unfair to expect Donald Pleasance, but why did they have to make the character so unlikable? I would expect that this character would at least have some attempt at some qualities that Pleasance brought to the original series, but unfortunately not. And for this scene, girls, do girls really talk like this?
Would you please convince Miss Tuculio for Schoolio that our costume idea is totally rad?
Dude, suck it up, ho. We got a fucking theme going on. Don't screw it up. Plus, we got you that sick maid outfit, and dudes dig the domestic.
This scene is just so out there, I can't buy any of it. It's just poor writing. We catch another scene with Mike walking into a barn after his mother, more fantasy reinforcement. Two hillbillies confront the enormous Myers and beat him pretty good. Mike dons the mask though, and then takes the two out, which is pretty awesome. The girl gets it too. And then the dog. Mike's a monster. And Mike getting up from the beating, now, Rob Zombie said he wanted to stay away from the supernatural. So is that supernatural, or is he just tough? Michael also has repeated dreams that depict his mother and describe the work that he is doing. I don't really see it as necessary to the plot even. Leaving his mother as a mystery worked fine for the classic series. Loomis is something else in this movie. Just check this one scene out.
Mistake. Oh yeah, you do you? Yes. Well, when I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you. Here, now take that and go sit in the car. Go on, get your ass in there.
Laurie has a waking murderous dream which illustrates the psychic bond that her and Michael share. It's a little overboard to say the least, and the original did this a lot better with a lot more subtlety. Laurie just seems to have a delicate quality to her.
Sit down.
Better fucking let me go and give me some fucking prescription.
One thing done well in this is the stress in the relationship between Annie and Laurie. A completely different dynamic than the original, and for this, I give Rob a thumbs up. And meet Howard. He's so pathetic. Well, Howard has a run-in with Mike, and he tried to get tough, but Mike put him down. And then he stomped on his face, which is pretty brutal. Not a real classic type kill for Mike. Plus, after the kill, you get a shot of his family, and that just kind of kills it for me. Mike takes out the owner of the rabbit, even breaking his arm. That's brutal. He smashes the stripper's face into the wall until she's dead. This whole sequence feels more intense than any of the classic series, and really, I think that's a plus. Laurie discovers that she's Michael Myers' sister by Loomis's book, which is kind of easier to buy than the dream sequence that happened in the original. Well, Laurie goes a little bit nuts, and then Laurie confides in her friends, and they all decide to head to a party. I have no idea why. Most of the Loomis stuff, although it leads to his change of heart at the end, is useless to the plot in the movie. Well, the girls are at a pretty crazy party, some guy gets killed, and then shortly after, one of the girls gets strangled by Mike. Again, it's raw force and just doesn't quite seem like classic Mike. The identity of the shape is something I don't see explored at all in this movie. Mike comes out of nowhere in one scene, and although he did kind of come out of nowhere, how did he get from the party to the house in that amount of time? Anyway, Annie is dying, and it's like a final tribute to Danielle Harris, a Halloween fan favorite. The girls arrive home and find Annie dead. The following scenes are so real, and Mike appears from nowhere, killing Maya. Laurie, left alone now in the house, takes off into the woods, and Mike follows. I think it's sad when the sheriff finds his daughter, and Brad Dourif sells the scene so well. I think possibly one of the most underrated actors ever. Laurie makes it to the road to hitch a ride. She finds one guy to help out, only to have Mike throw him through the window and then topple the car. I think that display of power is a little overboard for the character. Laurie is brought to a shack and she can see Mike's visions. Really, I think this is too far-fetched for a Halloween movie. Well, the SWAT team surrounds him at least. Loomis shows up to help, but the sheriff is livid with his book putting Laurie in danger. Loomis makes a mad dash for the shed and finds Laurie being held down by nobody, and then the worst Halloween ending ever.
Michael, for God in heaven.
And then they blow Mike away, and Laurie picks up a knife, and for one of the more bizarre endings you could possibly imagine, they blow her away. And what did Laurie end up in the psych ward for anyways? Well, it's to the tune of Love Hurts, which was kind of cool. I just think it's a really sad ending for a rather weak film. So let's get back to whether this should be considered a Halloween film or not. The kills were a little off of his style. It was raw, and I always pictured his kills a little bit more tidy, and this film was a lot more messy with a lot more gore, so that was a little bit more unfamiliar. Also, Michael in this film is enormous, which changes how you look at the character. And the mask is different, although I don't have a big problem with it except for when that lady removed part of his mask. I like a full covering mask. Now, I'm not saying that this is bad, I'm just pointing out the obvious. The new approach to Laurie and how she relates to Mike, though, I can't stand that aspect of the movie. Overall, yeah, it's a Halloween film, but barely. Instead of remakes, what they should consider is maybe making a sister series. It's by no means the worst of the Halloweens, but it will be refreshing when Halloween 3 hits the big screens later this year with new directors. So if you haven't seen this film yet, don't let the review discourage you. There's a lot of really good points to the movie. There's some good action sequences with Mike, although there should be some more. But I'm looking forward to the new one coming out. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. This is HMRG. Thanks for watching.